Nice.
Yep.
Suspenseful ending.
I know, I liked that.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, so I just stopped.
You just had your kind of moment, and you just sort of drift.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, thanks.
How's it going, Lisa?
It's good.
Cool.
It's Christmas. Look at the Christmas tree.
Christmas tree, Christmas hat.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thanks.
Hey, welcome everyone tuning in. We're checking a look at Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Yes.
Is this your favorite Christmas song?
It is currently my favorite Christmas song.
Cool.
I think maybe all of them are my favorite, though. So
yeah.
I don't.
You can't narrow it down
No.
to just one.
This is my today's favorite.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're learning Lisa's favorite Christmas song today. If you have any questions about this song or questions during this lesson, just hit the Ask a Question button below the video. We will answer on stream. Yeah, I think that's all the
Rock and roll?
housekeeping stuff. So
Jump right on it.
yeah, and you're gonna. Oh yeah, you're also gonna teach a little bit about singing with this one.
Well, I'm just probably gonna sing with it. So
Okay.
my approach to this one is, it's got a beautiful set of chords that sound extremely Christmassy when you mush them all together. And I find that it can be really challenging to learn to pick a melody out on the piano when you're starting. So if we can learn the chord structure of the song, then we can sing along, because who does not know Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas?
Yeah.
Right? And then if you have a piano in your house and you invite your friends and family over, you can play and they can sing, and it'll feel super festive, and they'll also be saying how amazing you are because you can play this song so beautifully.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the big plan. So
Okay.
first things first, I'm going to show this song to you using an approach of chording. So we have to quickly talk about what a chord is if you don't know. It is basically 3 notes, sometimes 4,
Yeah.
that when you put them together, they sound really pretty. So that's a really simple explanation. The first chord in this song is a G chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my thumb, my right hand on G, and notice how every single finger falls on a key really nicely. So this is kind of like the home base for this chord. So if you're a beginner, it can be tricky to figure out where all the fingers go, but basically each finger gets a note. Then what you're going to do is you're going to play G, and you're going to play a note a third above that, which is going to be your 3rd finger, and then another third above that, which is going to be your 5th finger, and you have a chord. This is the G chord. Now, if you are struggling to get all 3 fingers to cooperate, because this is new, one of my little cheats that I like to use is just playing the bottom note and the top note, and that would be what we'd call a 5th, but it also technically works. So if filling in all 3 notes is still a challenge, just play the top and bottom, and you're going to be just fine. So we have a G chord, G, B, and D, and then we're going to move to an E minor chord. So E minor sounds different than a major chord. Minors are kind of like more sad. They're the sad chords.
Yeah.
And we're going to play an E, a G, and a B. Now we could talk about formulas for half steps and the differences between the major chord and the minor chord. If you have questions about that, feel free to ask them. But for the time being, today, I'm just going to say it's right if it sounds right.
Right. Okay.
I feel like that's a pretty good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
E minor is going to be shown on a chord chart with an E and then a little M beside it. And the M stands for minor, not major.
Yeah. Oh, and sorry to
Yeah.
interject. I did forget to say we have the chord chart for this song along with the lyrics available as a download. So if you're kind of like wondering what Lisa's talking about when you're saying E minor 7 or whatever, just download that PDF below the video.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can grab that real quick, pull it up on your screens if you want, and then
Yeah.
you can play along.
Totally.
It's a great little resource because then you know what I'm talking about. So we've got our G chord, G, B, and D. We've got our E minor chord, which is an E, a G, and a B. Then we go to A minor. So again, I'm just going to place my thumb on the name of the note chord that I'm playing. So A, everybody kind of lines up. C and E would be an A minor chord. And then D, which is a D. This one has a sharp. F sharp and A. So those are that's like our first little collection of chords that we need to learn really well in order to be able to play the song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play each chord 2 times with my right hand like this. G, E minor, A minor, D. It's sounding familiar already, right? I'm going to add some pedal because that makes it sound more magical. And my rule of thumb when I'm using the damper pedal is you always want to let it go every time you're about to change chords. Otherwise it sounds all muddy and kind of blurred together.
Yeah.
But if you lift it and then set it back down in between each chord change, you're going to get a really lovely sound.
Right.
And then I'm going to add in my left hand. So with the left hand, you're going to notice on the chord chart that you have the chords all written out: G, E minor, A minor, and D. So you're simply going to play those notes. You don't have to play anything but a single note with your left hand for now as you play the chord. So what it's going to look like is I'm going to play a G chord here, and I'm going to hold down the G with my left hand. It'll sound like this. And I'll move to E, and then A, and then D. And it's really lovely. We can cycle through that a few times because that's basically the first verse. And then A, and then D. So if you can play those 4 chords, you can play almost all of this song. There's a couple tricky ones, but I'll help you through it. Now, if you're looking at the chart, you're going to see some 7s. Mm-hmm. 7s are what makes the song kind of juicy and wonderful and extra Christmassy.
Right.
So if you are a beginner, don't feel like you have to play the 7s. You can get through the song without any 7th chords and it'll still sound lovely. Mm-hmm. However, if you're feeling like a bit of a challenge and a more sort of jazzy, classic Christmas sound, we're going to add in those 7s. So what that means is we're going to be playing 4 notes instead of 3 notes. And there's a few different ways to play the 7s. The first 7th chord we're going to have in this song is an E minor 7. And 7 just means adding the 7th note of the scale of the chord that you're playing.
Yeah.
So if you're playing an E minor chord, the 7th note is going to be D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The easiest way, in my opinion, to play that as a 7th is if you notice that D is actually the note right below E, where your thumb is. I keep this shape, I swap my 2 finger down to the E, and then I hit the 7th note with my thumb. And I find that's the easiest way to get to my 7th chord, because then I'm not counting up 7 notes. I'm going, if I just think that the 7th is 1 note below the root note, it's easy peasy.
Right.
So then my shape doesn't have to change. I'm keeping this sort of this looks like a snowman to me. Snowman shape. I'm swapping my 2 so my thumb can play the 7th, and it's beautiful. And so the same thing happens with A. We've got an A minor chord. We're going to add the 7th, which is G, which is 1 step below where my thumb is. So I'm going to do this, and magically I have a 7th chord. So to get some muscle memory on that, I would suggest that you practice moving between the E minor 7 and the A minor 7 back and forth, because it's a weird shape, a number of times until it feels cozy. And then you can move from there. And you also don't have to play them all as 7s. Maybe you just want to try 1 7th here and there instead of all of the chords that have 7s beside them. Again, it's kind of like icing on the cake.
Right.
Would that be a good way to put it?
Yeah.
7ths are like icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I think, though, for Jordan, 7ths are the cake.
Yeah, I like that.
He likes 7s.
I do.
So I'm going to play with the 7s, that little chord progression that we just looked at with the G, the E minor 7, the A minor 7, and the D7. And you can see how it sounds. So I'm going to use just a root note with my left hand, nothing fancy yet. And I'm going to play each chord 2 times. So pretty! And then there's our E7, A minor 7, and then D7. Now if you want to make it even fancier, you can try 5ths with your left hand. And what all that means is set your hand up with your baby finger on the root note, and then your thumb will hit the 5th. So in the case of E, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful little 5th there. So for G, 5 goes on G. All of our fingers can kind of have their little place, and then our thumb is naturally on the D. And it sounds really lovely. So if I put it together, I'm going to go to E7. Just adds a little bit more to the kind of depth and the richness of the sound.
Totally.
And as a third choice for your left hand, we can add octaves, which will really pull in, especially if you've got a full-size piano, it'll pull in some of those beautiful bass notes. It'll sound like this. So I had fifths, I had octaves. You have all kinds of choices. But usually when I'm chording, I'm moving between one of those three choices, a single note based on the root note, a fifth based on the root note, or an octave, which is just 2 root notes. It's a big stretch though.
Cool.
So far so good?
Yeah.
Tracking with me? Mm-hmm. So things get a little bit wild at the end of the first verse. We've got, I guess we could maybe call it sort of like a turnaround. But what we're doing is we're moving from our normal progression. We hit the D, and then it does this beautiful little movement. We go to a B, which is B, D sharp, F sharp. And then we go to an E, which is E, G sharp, B. Then we find our A minor 7 and our D 7. So really we've got 2 new chords. We've got a B7 and we've got an E major 7. So I'm going to tell you those notes one more time. B, D sharp, F sharp, and then E, G sharp, and B. And again, that 7th note is optional in any case. So if I put it together, here's our A minor 7, our D7, B7, 2 times. And these are all kind of based on root position chords. We haven't looked at inversions. I'm keeping it really simple today for you. That is all the stuff you need to know for the verses.
Okay.
So using that information, you can now play the first 2 verses of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
And so it sounds like all the chords are just like quarter notes. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm just playing, I'm
You're kind of
keeping
just
a really,
pulsing it out?
really simple rhythm.
Okay.
Especially if you're gonna sing along with your playing, you wanna keep your accompaniment very simple.
Yeah.
You can add some broken chords in there, but
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Really simple.
Yeah.
And then you can add, did you see how I kind of broke up that chord? I've got this G chord, but instead of just playing it straight, I'm twinkling it.
Yeah, you got a
making
little
it
twinkle
sparkly,
action going on.
Making it kind of cool.
Yeah.
And you can notice there too, like I didn't just stop there, I kind of filled in the space. Usually when you're playing a chord, there's a number of notes that will sound complementary to that chord where your hand is already placed. So if I'm playing a G chord, if I want to play the E or the C, chances are they're going to sound really good, kind of mixed in, but you always want to finish before you move to the next chord, kind of back where you started. So what I mean by that is if this is my starting point, I want to end back where I started.
Yeah.
But I could add in some little jewelry,
Yeah.
chord jewelry.
Cool. I like that.
Looks like that.
Yeah.
And this is where you get to experiment and you get to play with what sounds good to your ear. So maybe you like things to be very simple. Maybe you want it to be like super busy and hello, and you're playing inversions and you're just going for it. The sky is really the limit. And within these chords, the melody is kind of hidden. So while I'm not going to teach every note of the melody today, I just wanted to show you, if you're feeling ambitious, how to kind of pick it out for yourself. So there it is. There's my first note. And the first chord is G. My first note is G. So if you're hearing the song in your head, have yourself, look at that. The first 3 notes of the G triad. So I'm just guessing right now, guys. If you can hear it, you can do it. And if you play a wrong note, the beautiful thing is your ear will tell you right away, that was terrible. And then you kind of fiddle around, but usually the notes that you're looking for the melody are hidden within the chord that you're about to play or playing.
Right.
So it's
Yeah,
a
that's
fun
a
little
good
treasure
point.
hunt.
Yeah.
So they're never far.
Yeah.
If you can sing it, if you can hear it, you can play it.
Yeah. You know what? I think, like, especially learning cover songs that were written on the piano.
Yeah.
Like, there's a certain way that, like, there's a certain way that the instrument, just the actual instrument of the keyboard, kind of guides you to write certain melodies and chord movements, just because it's like, oh, my hands are here, maybe I'll just make a melody with these notes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It fits.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite things I think about the piano is it's just right there.
Yeah. Hey, there's a question for you.
Ooh, okay.
This is a question from Jeff from South Australia.
Ooh.
Hey there, Jeff.
Hello.
He says, how would you play the left hand in broken chords and then he's like the Alberti bass or the arpeggio. Do you know?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just kind of, how would you jewelry up your left hand?
So I would, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you, because again, I'm on the fly here, but
Yeah.
okay, arpeggios.
Yeah,
That's where I'd go.
they're awesome.
Jordan's laughing
No,
at me.
I'm not at all.
Totally laughing at me. I would do arpeggios. So what you can do is you can understand that the 3 notes that you're going to have to work with on a G chord are G, B, and D.
Yeah.
And then I would set my hand up with my 5 on the G, my 3 on the B, my 2 on the D, and my 1 on the G, and you can work, actually that sounds really good too.
It does.
So I'm going G, then I'm finding the 5th with the D, and then I'm hitting the G on the tap, and then back to the D. So that's kind of a spaced out way to play it.
Yeah.
You can make it smaller to fit the hand if you just wanted to place your hand on the triad. So instead of playing them spread out that way, I'll place my hand on the G triad, and I'm going to go from my bottom to my top to my middle to my top. So it'll be more like. That works too. So it's just more engagement with the left hand. And if you're wanting to develop hand independence and get that left hand, becoming a little more usable, I guess,
yeah.
that would be a really good way to play the song. So.
Yeah.
And I'm mixing the 2 kind of here. There's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
So I think that answers the question. That's more of kind of a broken up, busier bass line with the left hand.
Yeah.
We good?
Yeah, that totally works.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Sweet. All right. The bridge of the song. The bridge is kind of, it's got some more stuff going on than, than the verses.
Is it a weird bridge? Is it
So-
a rickety bridge?
It's a rickety bridge.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful rickety bridge.
Right?
So we start with a C major 7, which is different than the minor 7s.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what to play. B, C, E, and G. Oh my gosh. That's so beautiful. There's just so many places to go from there, but we're going to stay on our Christmas song. So for the major 7, the 7th note is basically a half step below the root. And that's what it's going to sound like.
Yeah.
Then we move to a G over B. So anytime you're looking at a chord chart and you see like a letter with a slash and then a different letter, it simply means that you're playing one chord over top of the chord that's written second.
Right.
Hope that makes sense. So in this case, we have G over B. So we're going to play my G chord with this hand, and my left hand's going to play the B. So it's going to sound like this. It's really pretty. So if we move from a C major 7, there's a shortcut to get to a G chord. So I'm going to be telling myself a G chord is a G, a B, and a D. Not necessarily in that order. And look I've already got a G and I've already got a B. So I'm going to let these guys go, and I'm going to put my 2 finger on D, and now I'm playing an inverted G chord. So that looks like this one more time. So here's my major 7. I'm going to keep my G and my B because I need them, and I'm going to release the other 2 to play the D. So what my left hand can do is really smooth because I'm on the C major 7. Moving to the G with the B underneath is just a beautiful little step down. Then we go to our A minor 7, which is right here. Now a D7, we're going to go here. And then just a simple G chord. Enjoy it because it gets crazier. Then we go to E minor 7. Then F sharp, which isn't as scary as it looks. So first thing for a sharp is make sure you're playing a sharp. So if it's F sharp chord, your first note is going to be F sharp. So this is F. Half step up brings us to F sharp. A sharp simply means to go up by a half step. An F sharp chord is all sharps. We've got an F sharp, an A sharp, and a C sharp. So that's going to be a new experience for the hand if you're new to chords.
Yeah.
So we've come from an E minor 7. We're jumping up to an F sharp chord. Then we get to go to B minor, which is, it's easiest to play this using a shortcut because, again, I know I need a B, a D, and an F sharp. I've got F sharp here. My 3 hits the B, and my 5 hits the D. So what that looks like one more time is F sharp, A sharp and C sharp, and then keep your F sharp. Third finger is going to kind of hustle over here a half step, and then baby finger is going to hit D. And that movement is something you can practice 100 times if you like to get really good at it. There's our B minor, and then we go back to easy town. D, A7, D7.
Okay.
So there it is.
So that's the bridge.
That's basically mostly the whole song. There's only one more kind of little thing to learn and you've got it under your belt.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it for you from verse 2 using really simple chords. I'm going to play it with the bridge. I'm going to go nice and slow, and then we'll learn kind of a cool little add-on for one of the verses.
Sweet.
And that's your tune, guys.
Cool.
So here's our bridge. C major 7. Play 4 of those. 4 of those. A minor 7, 2, 2, G, 2, 3, 4, E minor 7. Here's our crazy F sharp, and here's our inverted B. Super fun. D, A, D. And then you can pause and take a little break for drama. And then verse 3, back to our simple little progression. So pretty. Ooh, there's some tossing it up of the left hand. Okay, now the big sort of moment of the song is happening here. So we've got the A minor, B. Now we get to do something fun on this E, because it's a big kind of power note if you're singing it.
Right.
So you're gonna hang out. You're just gonna play an E chord here a whole bunch of times, and your left hand's gonna do like a little climb down by the half step. So what that looks like is E 2 times with an E on the left, then E another 2 times with a D sharp or an E flat. You can call it what you want. Then you go down to D, and then C sharp.
Cool.
Makes you sound like a pro. I'll do it again. E, D sharp, tuck your thumb under, hit the D, and then C sharp, and then hang out there. And then the end of the song, I'm gonna arpeggiate that, which means I'm gonna play each note of that C major 7 separately, because it sounds awesome. And it kind of makes it sound more final.
Cool.
That's it.
Yeah.
Or you can add the 7, which in this case is gonna be an F sharp. And that's the song. That is literally the whole Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas song.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 chords as your kind of core group,
Yeah.
which are G, E minor 7, A minor 7, and D. And then you get some of the wild cards, which you've got the B chord, you've got a B minor, a C major 7, and an F sharp. And if you can kind of master all of those, you've got the song. So depending on where you're at level-wise, one of the things that I like to do is write on my chord chart, I print it. And if there's a chord that I'm not super comfy with, I just write the names of each note out. And I make myself like a little sort of chart where I'll write, okay, C major 7, C major 7 equals B, C, E, G. And then if I get stuck, I can kind of pull back and reference back to it.
Right.
So that's what it looks like. So I'm going to play the whole thing. Again, I'm going to show a couple different kinds of options for sort of broken up chords as I go, so you guys can use that for inspiration. And then we will open it up for some questions, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so for an intro, I'm going to start up here because this is going to sound twinkly. I'm going to play my core group of chords here. And then I'm going to come to the middle. Back to the root chords to keep it easy. Adding some 7s in when I see fit. I'm going to travel down now to add some interest. And again, I'm playing with inversions here, playing a root position. Traveling around the keyboard just to make it interesting. Of melody, but maybe not carrying the whole thing, just so that it gives the suggestion of what I'm playing, but leaves room for the sort of mind to create what it wants. There's our bridge. off. Back to our chord progression, and becomes very simple and repetitive. So after you've done this a number of times, you're going to find yourself wanting to explore. There's my little sort of climb down. Broken arpeggiated chord. A minor 7, D, and G. That's the song.
Cool.
So, you guys can do it too.
Yeah.
So there's levels of, I think, it is what you want it to be. It can be very, very, very simple, and it can be very, very complicated, or it can be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sweet. It's the kind of song where it's like when you listen to it and you add all these kind of, like you said, the kind of jewelry elements. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, this sounds pretty legit. This is pretty tough to do.
Yeah.
But then when you break it down to just its basic
forms.
basic triads, and then chuck in the sevenths or something here and there, you're like, oh, I see how you get to
where we're going.
Yeah.
So the sevenths, when you look at that chart, the sevenths are totally optional. If you can play just the right hand G chord one time, E minor chord one time, A minor chord one time, you're still going to sound pretty awesome. Like, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you'll have fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just prepare your house guests this Christmas to be your backup singers.
Right.
It'll be so fun.
Yeah. Cool.
How are we doing? Got any questions on the go?
We have a question about, well, this is a question that we might have to save for later because it's a bit of a complicated jazz question. Tritone substitution. How do you feel about those?
Ooh.
What do those words mean to you?
Those are big words.
Big
Tritone
words, eh?
substitution, and I think that's a lesson for another day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeff was asking about tritone substitution. Probably in relation to the bridge. I think that's the case, just on my first listen. But I would have to give it a couple pass throughs. But I think you're on the right track for figuring out the theory of the chord movements there, Jeff. Other than that, we don't have any more questions yet.
Okay.
But is there anything else that you want to talk about with this one? Is there something, I don't know, like, it's...
There was something. There's something brilliant I was going to mention, but it disappeared on me. So what I'm going to maybe do then is I'm going to go through and I'm going to play the verse on a cycle.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the chords in their very most simple form.
Okay.
And then I'm going to play it a couple of times,
And then build it
kind
out.
of gradually building up, so that if you are new, then you have a sort of starting point where you can jump in and go, okay, that's what she's doing.
Right.
One of the best things that I ever did for myself when I was learning to play was watch other people's hands, because I didn't actually ever, like when you're watching somebody play in real time, it's really hard to really actually process exactly what it is they're doing.
Yeah.
But there is still something that's happening with that connection of visually going, whoa, what's happening? What are they doing? There's something that's translating, and it will kind of go into your brain, and it'll start to work its way out of you as you explore the piano, because it shows you what's possible and what those hand movements look like.
Yeah. Because you got the same amount of fingers that they do.
Right?
You can
it's
do
a
it too.
true story.
Yeah.
So here we go. Very basic. G chord, thumb on G. I'm going to play this in fifths for you. It's just simple root notes on my left hand. See how easy that is? And it still sounds cool. And if you wanted to get even fancier, you can break them up with your left hand. Watch this. You'll sound like a pro if you do that. Now I'm going to do chords, so I'm going to use all three notes, but just simple root positions. Again, very basic in the left hand, just kind of following along with those root notes. Really straightforward.
Yeah.
Now maybe you want to see an inversion, a shortcut. I can get from E minor to A without moving my hand. It's magic. Watch. I've got the E that I need, and my third finger is going to go to A, and my 5 is going to go to a C, and look at that. I'm on an A minor chord. And it's a beautiful movement. So that E minor to A minor. So what that looks like here is your simple chords. Shortcut to A minor. And if you want to play it as a 7, whoa, look at your 2 can just pop down right there. And you've got an A minor 7. It's basically magic. And then D. So that's a really simple way to play the progression and add in some magic real quick. There's your 7. Your hands might scream at you at first, but I promise they will get used to it. And here's the sort of turnaround. B major, E major. Here's that tricky A minor we learned earlier, and then the D. So now I'm going to fancy it up, and I'm going to add some sort of juicy goodness to my left hand. And I'm going to let it kind of do most of the work. So what I'm doing is I'm playing broken chords with my left hand. And it gives it some movement. It kind of moves it along a little bit. Then I'm going to add in 7s, and I'm going to do octaves this time. And as you can see, I'm kind of changing up my rhythm pattern with my left hand. Right? It's not just all one kind of, you can disperse your notes throughout. The tricky thing is just making it all fit within the time signature.
Right.
Which is, honestly, it's naturally not my #1 gifting of life, is rhythm and timing. That's why my metronome and I are frenemies. We need each other. Well, I need it. But it's something that you can practice, and if you're using a metronome, you'll know right away if you're fitting your beats in on time.
Yeah.
So you can't borrow them for the next measure.
Right.
Borrowing beats is actually not a thing that works ever.
Never.
No, can't do it. So there you have it.
Cool. Sweet.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
That's Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, folks.
Nice.
Yep.
That's, I got to learn this song. I actually don't know it.
What?
I don't know this one.
Oh my gosh.
But I'll figure it out.
You better.
I'll watch this lesson back.
Will you watch this lesson?
I will.
I'm gonna
sing it?
Yeah, I'm gonna sing it.
Okay.
Because you guys set up this beautiful
We set up the microphone for you, Lisa.
vocal microphone
so
for
go nuts. So yeah, if there's any more questions, just send them in. We can maybe answer them over email. But yeah, thanks for joining, Lisa. This is a really cool lesson. I love how simple the core of it is, but then you can kind of make it all fancy.
So fancy.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, here we go.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are, as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas.